We all know that nature is a powerful force, but did you know it's also powerful for you and your mind? Let's go. Good day, everybody. My name is Rob. This is my mom, Karen. We are host of Books, Banter, and Beyond. And today it is a topic I love, will continue to love forever. It is the power of nature, but specifically why reading about it is so important for various reasons, right?
Hmm.
So, for those of you who know me personally, you know that nature is my thing. I could spend hours just looking at photography, animal pictures, documentaries, because there's something about nature, just looking at it, that just gives you that calm sense of,
Right.
things might suck a little bit, but hey, look at this beautiful
Look at
sunset.
this
Look at these
tree.
trees,
Right.
flowers, all that stuff. So not only is nature just a positive force, when you read about it, you kind of do a few things. Specifically, you enrich your understanding about it, and you also get a deeper connection to it. And that's because I think when you know what is going on, when you know the situations throughout the world, you kind of understand the importance of why the natural world needs our help
Right.
to kind of just thrive, right? I know one of my favorite people is David Attenborough, Sir David Attenborough, excuse me. He does the BBC Planet Earth shows, and
Mhm.
basically his entire series is just about the animals of the world, the people of the world, how everything is shaped, how the seasons change, all that. And books do the same thing. You can be talking about the wilderness, how the wilderness and people interact. You can be
Right.
talking about the ecosystems, or specifically areas that you might be nearby. Let's say a forest, an ocean, in our case, a desert.
Right.
Love the desert. Not really, but hey, it's a place. Animals live there. People do too. What are you going to do? Um, and I think you might agree with me. It kind of cultivates an empathy and awareness too, right? Because
Right.
you understand that what you do affects your surroundings, but also your surroundings
Perfect.
also
Yeah.
affect.
No question about that. I mean, one of the things that I like to do every single day is take my dog for a walk. And in the beginning, I used to take my phone and or I'd have earbuds and I'd listen to a book, whatever. And now I don't do that anymore. I literally take him for a walk and I look around at the beauty of this world that we live in, from the trees to the wind. It's been very windy around here recently.
Yes.
To the temperatures and to the beautiful. You don't like the desert. I love the desert. I love the rock formations and the flowers that bloom in the spring. That kind of thing. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. For me
Well,
personally.
to clarify, it's not necessarily the visual; it's the fact
Right.
that it gets so hot and gross. But I do agree though, because a lot of places in the Southwest where we are, for instance, like the Grand Canyon, the
Right.
Red Rocks of Arizona, all of those landscapes are amazing, beautiful, and they were all made through billions of years of geology through the winds, through the water, through all that.
Right. And as you're walking through this, you realize, you have to decide, where is your place in all of this, right? Where do we belong in all of this? We do belong in it, but where do we belong? What's our responsibility to nature, and what's nature's response? I mean, this is very philosophical, but when you're walking and you realize that you're out there, what is our mutual responsibility to each other? How do we
Well, I
keep
was actually going to bring it because a friend of mine, she wants to do an off the grid kind of B&B thing, and it's become a more popular idea of people kind of making their own space, literally,
right?
kind of away from the city, building their own stuff, growing their own veggies, raising their own livestock,
Yeah.
whatever it is you want to do. And when you first see it, because there's a lot of shows and stuff on TV about people who live in the, like in Alaska, off the grid, or people that live, off of the city.
Right.
Obviously indigenous peoples, so Native Americans in America or Aborigines in Australia. And you look at it and you realize that even though it's very different from what you or I are used to, because we grew up in the city, there is a special thing about kind of doing it yourself and not having to kind of abide by what's around you, because you
Or
can kind of
rely,
build
or rely on
or
the
that's a
land.
better word,
There
rely on
and
what.
I mean, there's a huge movement out there right now,
Yeah.
of people that van life, who are literally saying, I don't want to be tied down to one place. I want to live in my van, which is one, on purpose. I'm not talking about people that are forced to live in their cars. That's not literally people who are deciding they want to live in nature. They want to
Right.
live off grid. They want to be able to, literally boondock, I think is what it's called, where they don't need to be
Okay.
even hooked up to anything. They just do what they need to do, as you would like to say, just do what they need to do. And
Do
there,
what they need.
there is a certain attractiveness to that idea. Even I think
Yeah.
I could see, why that might be attractive.
Right. And it goes into our next connection here that books on nature reflect our relationship
Hmm.
with the earth. And it kind of, and like you were saying, it sparks that want to do something different,
Right.
make a little bit of your own personal growth or change, so to speak. And at the end of the day, and we talk about this off screen and on, you as a person do what you do. You're not necessarily, your job is to make sure that what you're doing works for you, works for your loved ones if you're with a family. And that's kind of what nature allows you to do. You don't need, nature doesn't make you follow the crowd. Nature says, hey, if you want to do this and you can do it safely and you can do it respectfully, then go do it. There's nothing that should be stopping you. And whether it's a fiction book, whether it's a nonfiction book, and we talked about the differences, how even though it's two different genres, it's the same idea. Both authors, whether they're writing a fake story or a real one, they're still giving you the same idea. And in this case, it's that you can sustain yourself doing this. You can do important things, but at the end of the day, there's two reasons for it. You want to protect your land, your earth, and you want to protect your well-being. You want to make sure that what you're doing is going to lead to future more productivity, more health,
Right.
more happy, right?
Right. I mean, you said you like to watch, as do we, documentaries and our place in nature, and go to the point that I think our relationship with nature does change when we read about nature, when we look at things in nature,
Yes.
when we realize that things are becoming extinct, or look,
Mhm.
here's they actually brought back an animal that was near extinction, or this, and you realize it's such a, well, I really, it's such a fragile relationship that we have. And the more, I think, the more people read about it, the more people watch things about it and
Right.
integrate it into their lives, they will, I think, will come to it all on their own without being beaten over the head, how important nature is to us and to the world that's coming. If we don't take care of it now.
And that's actually one of our first questions is how does reading this stuff, how does seeing this stuff help us to want to
Right.
act on it, right?
Right.
And I think you said it very well. It's, you can tell somebody to do something till you're blue and you pass out, but it's more of it's not a forceful, it's a, hey, look at what look at what nature is, look at what it gives. Um, what do you want to do to make your footprint, to do your
Right.
impact? It's not so much that you have to do everything that is said to do, but if you can do what works for you and what you can do to help, that's your job, that's your goal. You don't need to do more than just what you can perceive, I guess, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, and we always joke, parent to kid, where you and dad always try to drive the same thing home for me. It's kind of like, do you continuously drive the nail, or do you just kind of go, hey, here's the info,
Right.
go
Right. Right.
do something, right?
Right.
How do you, I,
Right.
I was curious what you thought on that, whether it's if it's the generation gap or if everybody kind of equally has the same goal,
I
basically.
think I think it, I think it probably equal, maybe the way it's disseminated, maybe the way it's acted on, maybe the way it's introduced, and things of that nature. And sometimes you talk about fiction versus nonfiction, right? I happen to, even though I'm now getting into fiction books, which is pretty fun to do that, and it's now I know why the appeal is there, because I used to think nonfiction was all
There
what
you
it was
go.
all about. Do you think one has more ability to change our thoughts on nature?
Well, it's actually funny because perfect timing for what we were talking about yesterday. We were discussing the Winnie the Pooh stories, and I made a comment of saying how these fictional stuffed animals taught us how to be better people just through A.A. Milne's writing, right? And it's kind of that idea of, it could be a made up character, it could be a talking animal, it could be a true story. And I think it's amazing how when you're older and you reread something that you maybe read as a kid, you realize the impact of it. And in this case, that's what this is. I think either or would be perfect. I think it kind of what resonates more with you as the reader. But I think it just, you have to look back and see how kind of these simple stories or these, trying to think of examples right now. They're not coming to my head, but like the story, the Mount Everest guys who basically defeated all odds to go climb, and then basically made one of the biggest discoveries of showing you what Mount Everest looked like from the top, right? So it's a matter of, I think, what uses for you better. What is it? Do you
Right.
get more from fiction? Do you get more from non?
I think it's good that we have both because we meet people
Yes.
where they are. I think you've heard me say I like to meet people where they are in the way I communicate with them. Some people like to text. Some people would prefer to be on the phone. Some people would prefer to be a Zoom call. So, however that is.
Right.
I learned a long time ago that you need to meet people where they want to, how they want to, and where they're comfortable communicating. If it really doesn't matter to you, myself,
Right.
meet somebody else where they're at. And I think that's the whole thing with the fiction and nonfiction. Some people relate more to nonfiction. They want to hear exactly what's going on. If we're going to talk about climate or nature or whatever, they want to see it. Some people need to be soft fed it, and it becomes more, it's a story form. It's fiction. For instance, I'm reading a wonderful fiction series, and in each book, and it's a series of 10 of them, in each book, they have managed to describe the outdoors, and they have managed to describe the wildlife and what it sounds like, and every book, and each book is following different seasons. So not only is it showing me what it is,
Very cool.
it's fascinating. And for me, it almost feels nonfiction, even though it's not. It's very much a fiction book.
All right.
So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. As we do every week, we encourage you to go check out the bookstore online. It's gently used. That means somebody loved that book before you're going to love it. Next Chapter Bookstore.shop. Check it out. There are all sorts of categories. Our suggestion is go there, click on the category button. It's there somewhere on the site, and say, I want books on fiction, or I want romance, or I want science fiction. And you will go to that category and find some great books. The prices are great. We encourage you to go visit it. Any last thoughts, Rob?
I mean, without beating the nail too hard again, I think, one of the questions we were discussing before was, do we think that if more people read about things like nature, would it help? And I think, I think it does. And I think you said it very, or we both kind of agree. You don't need to be forced to do it. You don't need to do whatever. Just pick it up at your pace, grab a book that works, start something small, and just kind of go from there. And I think the more people read, the more you learn. The more you learn, as they say, the more you grow. Right. And then the more you know. I'm just kidding.
Sound like a commercial. Okay.
I think that was, but there you go.
All right. Well, guys, we love having you on the show and joining us. Do you have a favorite outdoor book that you want to share with us? Make sure you put in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll see you next time on Books, Banter, and Beyond. Goodbye, everyone.